welcome to another deep dive.
Great to be here.
Today, we're plunging into something I think pretty much everyone deals with. The whole tricky business of being late.
Ah, yes. The universal struggle.
We've got this really interesting source material. It's a transcript from an English learning discussion.
Right.
And it covers a workplace scenario, someone being late for a meeting. But then it also takes this, surprising turn into how time is seen differently around the globe.
Which is fascinating stuff.
Totally. So our mission today is basically to pull out the most common, the most useful ways people actually explain why they're late.
And also to get into that cultural side of things, like what does on time even mean depending on where you are?
Exactly. Okay, let's unpack this. Right. So first, let's set the scene from the source. Picture this. It's a 10 a.m. meeting.
Okay.
But it's already 15 minutes past.
Okay.
And the boss is pretty clear. The quote is, if I say the meeting starts at 10:00, the meeting starts at 10:00.
Not 10.01 and definitely not 10.20. Oof. Strict.
Yes, super strict. It immediately tells you, for this workplace, punctuality is, everything. No wiggle room.
Absolutely. That sets a really high bar. It means any excuse is going to be looked at pretty closely.
And the excuses start, trickling in. It gives us a good cross-section of reasons.
What do people say?
Well, one person, Joe, said he got tied up with a client.
Okay. Sounds potentially legit.
Another mentioned a huge traffic jam on the highway. Said they were stuck in traffic.
Ah, the classic.
Apparently there was a huge pileup, so traffic was backed up for miles. Sounds pretty bad.
Yeah, that paints a picture of something unavoidable.
Then there was Scott. He was running late because his previous meeting ran over.
Another common one. Scheduling domino effect.
And finally, this one's maybe a bit weaker. Someone blamed getting a coffee at Starbucks.
Oh, dear.
I said the line was way, way too long. They waited for 20 minutes.
And how did the boss take that? Let me guess.
Predictably, not well. While the client thing and the massive traffic jam were seen as, good reasons.
Understandable delays.
The coffee excuse. The boss literally said, I don't think coffee is that important.
Huh. Yeah, that one doesn't really fly, does it? Especially not with that boss. It shows the excuse itself really matters.
It really does. Makes you think, what do you consider valid? Getting stuck by a client or a major accident? Yeah, okay, probably fine.
Right, things outside your control.
But waiting 20 minutes for coffee when you know you have a strict 10 a.m. meeting, maybe not the best look.
Definitely highlights the importance of both what you say and why you were delayed.
Exactly.
Oh.
So let's dig into some of that specific language. These phrases are really useful. First up, to get tied up.
Oh, yeah, that's a great one. Tied up. It basically means you got busy with something you couldn't easily get away from.
Right. It implies it was important, maybe unexpected.
Exactly. The source even uses this analogy like you're literally tied by a rope to that thing. You couldn't leave.
It sounds quite professional, too. Like the examples. I got tied up at the office, or
I was tied up on the phone all afternoon.
Or even, I got tied up in traffic on the way here. It works for different situations.
Very versatile, and it often implies the delay wasn't really your fault.
Okay, and speaking of things not being your fault,
Yep.
Traffic.
Yeah.
Our source had a few specific terms here. Traffic jam, obviously.
Right. The general state of being stuck, lots of cars, not moving, a blockage.
But then it mentioned a pileup. What's the difference there?
Good question. The pileup is usually the cause of the jam. It specifically means an accident involving, multiple cars.
Like they literally piled on top of each other.
Sometimes, yeah, or just a big collision. That's the event. The jam is the result, the stopped traffic.
If you're in it,
You're stuck in traffic. That's your personal experience of being caught in the jam.
Got it. And to describe how bad it is, the source used traffic is backed up for miles.
Yeah, that really emphasizes the scale. It tells the person waiting that this isn't just a minor slowdown. It's huge. Cars lined up for ages.
Helps manage their expectations, I guess.
Definitely. Knowing it's backed up for miles means you're probably going to be really late.
Okay, another one, maybe the most common phrase, running late.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's probably the number one thing people say. It sounds very natural, very native.
And it just means you know you're going to be late, right?
Pretty much. It's an acknowledgement you're behind schedule. Works anytime, anywhere.
You hear it constantly. Jane is running late. She'll be here in 10 minutes.
Or texting, traffic is really bad, so I'm running late.
Or maybe emailing, I'm running a bit late, so please start without me.
Exactly. It's just a quick, clear heads up.
And then there was Scott's reason. His previous meeting ran over.
Right. Ran over. Simple meaning. It went longer than scheduled.
So it's about something exceeding its allotted time.
Precisely. A meeting can run over, an appointment, maybe a doctor's visit runs over.
Like the source said, my meeting ran over 15 minutes. Straightforward explanation.
Very common, especially in busy work schedules. It happens.
Okay, and one last quick informal one. In a sec.
Yeah. In a sec. Very informal.
Means very soon, right? Short for second.
Exactly. Though it's usually an exaggeration. Nobody expects you literally in 1 second.
No. But it sounds immediate. Like, I'll be right there in a sec.
It does. It conveys urgency. It's interesting, actually. There's a subtle difference between that and in a minute.
Oh, what's that?
Well, in a sec usually implies like really soon, maybe within an actual minute or so.
Okay.
Whereas in a minute could often mean, maybe 3, 4, even 5 minutes. Slightly longer time frame.
Yeah. Never really thought about it like that, but yeah, that feels right. In a sec feels faster.
It does. Little nuances of informal speech.
So we've got the language down, the excuses.
Yeah.
But then the source shifts gears, which I found really interesting. It connects all this to the bigger picture.
You mean the cultural differences in time perception?
Exactly. Beyond just the words, it unpacks how the whole concept of being on time changes drastically depending on where you are in the world.
Yeah, this is crucial. Ideas about time, about being late, they're definitely not the same everywhere. Big differences between countries and cultures.
So let's look at the examples they gave. North America, Canada, and the U.S.
Right. What did it say about there?
Well, for social stuff like a dinner invite for 6 p.m. in Canada, you'd probably show up maybe 6:05, just a couple minutes after.
Okay, a little grace period socially.
But professionally, in the U.S. especially, that 9 a.m. meeting we talked about, it will start at 9 point sharp.
No wiggle room there.
And for starting work, if work starts at 9, you're expected to be at your desk working at 9:0, not walking in, not getting coffee, working.
That's a very specific, quite strict definition of punctuality in the professional sphere.
Now, contrast that with Latin America. The source mentions Latino time.
Right, a more fluid approach often.
Professionally, that 9 a.m. meeting, people might arrive, grab coffee, chat a bit, and the meeting might actually kick off around 9:15, maybe up to 9:30.
Quite different from the American example.
And socially, a 6 p.m. dinner invite might mean people actually arrive at 6:30 or 7:0.
And the food might not even be ready for a while after that, maybe 8 or 9. It's a much more relaxed time frame.
Imagine the culture clash if you're not aware. You might think someone arriving at 9:20 for a 9:00 meeting is being rude.
When in their cultural context, it might be perfectly normal, even expected, to allow for settling in time. Huge potential for misunderstanding if you don't know the local norms.
And then there's the other extreme, German countries.
Yes. Punctuality is king.
The source says if it's 6.0, you're there at 6.0, right? Not 6.01. Absolute precision.
Very much so. It's deeply ingrained. Being late, even slightly, can be seen as quite disrespectful there.
And this applies to starting work too, right? Not just meetings.
Yeah, the source contrasts the North American working at 9.0 idea with some other places where arriving at 9 might mean getting settled.
Grabbing that coffee, checking emails.
Exactly. With the actual work starting maybe 9.3 or 10, the whole definition of what starting work means can vary.
It's fascinating how different these unwritten rules are.
It really is.
So what's the big takeaway here? It's not about judging one way as right or wrong, is it?
Not at all. The crucial point, the real nugget, is simply awareness. The important thing is to know what the tradition, what the expectation is in the specific country or culture you're in.
Right. Because knowing that helps you navigate everything.
Absolutely. It helps you avoid misunderstandings, communicate more effectively, and just build better relationships, whether it's business or personal. It's key for cross-cultural understanding.
Yeah, absolutely crucial. Okay, well, that brings us towards the end of this deep dive.
It flew by.
It did. So whether you find yourself stuck in traffic, explaining a meeting that ran over, or maybe just saying you'll be there in a sec.
Hopefully, understanding the language is helpful.
Definitely. And coupling that language with an awareness of these different global clocks,
Right.
these cultural rhythms, it just makes navigating our world a little bit easier, I think.
Agreed. And thinking about all this, it raises a pretty important question, I think.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
Well, how might actually adopting a more flexible mindset towards time ourselves,
Mm.
depending on the context, being precise when needed, but maybe more relaxed other times,
Mhm.
how might that flexibility not only improve our connections with people from different backgrounds, but maybe even, reduce some of our own stress in this super fast-paced, interconnected world?
That's a really interesting thought. Adapting our own relationship with time based on the situation.
Yeah.
Definitely something for all of us, for you listening, to think about.
Worth considering.
Consider your own experiences with being on time or late and those cultural norms.
Mm.
Anyway, we really hope you enjoyed this deep dive.